In Ephesians 4 and verse 15, the Apostle Paul writes, "But speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Christ." Some verses in the Bible are simply amazing in the many lessons which they contain. Ephesians 4 and verse 15 is one of these verses. This passage speaks about truth, the truth which makes one free from sin. Today I'd like for us to notice some of the lessons that we find contained in this one verse. First, we find the message of truth. Biblical truth. In order to be effective in the lives of men, this must be spoken or proclaimed. Jesus commanded, "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature," Mark 16 and verse 15. But why the gospel? Well, friends, we must preach the gospel because the gospel is God's power to save, Romans 1 and verse 16. It is by this truth that the soul is purified. Peter stated, "Seeing ye have purified your souls in obeying the truth," 1 Peter 1 and verse 22. Paul affirmed that those in Rome were made free from sin by their obedience to doctrine, Romans 6 verses 17 through 18. A second thought is that truth must be spoken. Each week, the general public is subjected to a variety of religious discourses. As one compares many of these religious speeches with the Bible, he learns that much of what is being taught is not the truth, but simply that which has been formed into doctrines, and that which has been concocted in the minds of men is being promoted so much in the world today. We also learn of our individual responsibility to teach the truth. Paul was writing to the saints at Ephesus not just to preachers, elders, or other leading brethren. To these saints he gave the commandment to speak the truth. The question is also asked in another place, how shall they hear without a preacher? Romans 10 and verse 14. We each need to realize and fulfill our responsibility to speak the truth. Next, we find the manner of truth. The manner in which the truth is to be spoken is in love. This word love invokes some strange thoughts to many people. Some seem to think that love means being willing to compromise with error and those who teach it. Others view love as a sentimental, giddy, emotional feeling about God, the cross, sin, and salvation. But none of these convey the concept of true biblical love. True biblical love expresses a genuine concern for others. It causes one to desire the highest good even for an enemy, and that highest good being the salvation of the soul. It involves telling one the truth when the risk is great that such action will bring about alienation of friends. We must remember, Jesus angered the scribes and the Pharisees when he told them the truth about themselves and about God's attitude toward them in their present condition. Yet this same Jesus looked upon them with love and lamented, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together as a hen gathereth her chicks under her wings, and ye would not." Matthew 23 and verse 37. If we speak the truth in love, we will call upon men to obey. To fail to tell men the truth is to fail to call them to obedience to the truth. To allow them to believe that they are saved short of that full obedience is nothing short of spiritual homicide. Men who would do such, although claiming to love the souls of their hearers, actually express a hateful contempt for them. A casual reading of Matthew 15 verses 8 through 14 and then the entire second chapter of 2 Peter will serve as proof of this statement. Then lastly, we see the motive of truth. The proper motive of spiritual truth and those who proclaim it is that the recipient of that truth may grow up in all things, even Christ. Motives which are simply to increase the numbers, the contribution, or the prestige of the proclaimer are impure and shameful motives. It is a sad but true fact that some teach truth so that they may manipulate those to whom they preach. They teach truth in order to create a situation of what is commonly known as preacheritis among their followers. But true Christians teach the truth so that souls may be saved. These do not first survey the racial, economic, or social standing of the ones to be taught before deciding if they're worthy to be taught. True children of God see the lost. They recognize that anyone who has not obeyed the gospel is lost, and they want to give them the opportunity to be saved. For this reason, they seek the lost. They're willing to sacrifice their time and their money in an effort to seek out and to tell the saving gospel to those who are lost. Having found the lost, they save them by the preaching of the gospel. Friends, there are many other lessons which we could look at from this text today, but these should suffice to make us appreciate the value of taking a text and studying it for our own benefit, and may each of us have the zeal to do so. Thank you for joining us today, and have a blessed day.